Now, all roads seem to be leading towards one country when it comes to hosting sporting events. In the heart of West Asia, oozing with wealth because of its oil reserves, we're talking about Saudi Arabia. A nation that has been a conservative state is now on a mission to becoming the world's next sporting hub. Its latest ambition, it wants to acquire a stake in Indian cricket's most lucrative tournament, the Indian Premier League or the IPL. And they are not talking about a minor share, it's a multi-billion-dollar stake. Now, I'll tell you where this interest stems from, what lies behind the ambitious quest. The IPL is the richest cricket league in the world, we know it, worth as much as $30 billion. And Saudi officials are promising to invest $5 billion into it. They are now in talks with the Indian officials to ink the deal. Reports say that Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman pitched this idea during his recent trip to India. Now, cricket is one sport that has a massive following and by that extension, a massive viewership, particularly in South Asia, where cricket outperforms other disciplines. It remains the most watched game. Right now, the BCCI bars other Indian players to participate in leagues abroad. Restrictions are laid for even the most prominent events, like the Big Bash League, the Caribbean Premier League, or the 100 in England. Now, after pumping money into football, Formula One and other major disciplines, Saudi Arabia is vying to dig its claws into another global sport like cricket. Although several T20 leagues have sprung up since the IPL was launched, barely any have been able to give the Indian Premier League a stiff competition. Now, Saudi's sovereign wealth fund has splurged billions to widen its sports portfolio. Why is this ambition critical? Let's take you back to where it all started. One of Saudi's first sporting investments started in 2014 when WWE was brought into the country. It saw wrestlers like John Cena feature in it. And the country has regularly kept pumping in the moolah when it comes to sports. Reports say at least $6 billion have been spent on sporting investments since 2021. And this figure is before the mass exodus of star footballers to Saudi shores. Now, it's a no-brainer. If big names are attached to an event, it will draw more traction. Fans watch sports because their role models are in it. It's this strategy that the kingdom is tapping into. This massive influx of money into sporting events has caused controversy. Critics are calling it sports washing. What does that mean? When Saudi hosted its first F1 Grand Prix in 2021, for example, human rights groups accused the country of using these events to clean up its tarnished image in the international community.
Formula One has a corporate responsibility to respect human rights, and there's some really big human rights risk in doing this event in Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia has an appalling human rights record, and it is using events like Formula One and also major boxing and football events to try and sports wash its image.
A similar pattern can be found everywhere in all their sporting ventures. What better way to tap into a sport that has a giant following up until now? Saudi's tourism industry and its oil giant Aramco were sponsors of the Indian Premier League last year. A staggering $6.2 billion was invested to get broadcasting rights. A stake in the IPL franchise would mean new agreements. And who knows, this dream is unstoppable. In the future, they could want to even co-host it. Their neighbors did that, UAE, in one of the editions of the IPL, so why can't they? Quite recently, Riyadh announced it would host the first ever Esports World Cup. We told you the implications of that right here.
I mean, honestly, we're super excited to be hosting the Esports World Cup. Just look at the Gamers 8 when we hosted that. It was during a shorter period of time, and we've seen more than 2.6 million people attend. So can you imagine that number multiplying we're moving from an event which was Gamers 8, which was a few weeks, to a 2-month event for the World Cup. So we're super excited to see those people come into Saudi, visit Saudi. And the beautiful thing about esports is that it's the future of live entertainment, but it's also a borderless sector, which is something that we thrive for in the tourism industry, because we get really to have people connect and build bridges from one side of the world to the other. So this is a great moment for us here in Saudi.
Now let's look at some of the major sporting investments that Saudi has made over the years. In 2018, a 10-year contract for hosting WWE. Then 2020, a horse racing event that became an annual tournament. In 2021, Lionel Messi signs a deal to promote tourism. In the very same year, a series of investments took place, from the McLaren Group to the takeover of Newcastle United to the first Formula One race being held in Jeddah, to a year later, LIV Golf Tour being created. And the PIF, or the Public Investment Fund, bought 17% of the Formula One franchise, Aston Martin. Then there was Ronaldo moving to Al Nassr in 2022. That created a huge wave, which opened the floodgates in football, right up to the PIF agreeing to contribute more than $1 billion to a PGA Tour LIV Golf partnership just some months ago. Now, all these are part of a campaign, a transformation plan named Vision 2030, in which hundreds of billions of dollars are being spent to diversify the kingdom's economy and reduce its oil dependency. And it would seem that cricket is their latest obsession now. BCCI, however, is yet to respond to this proposal. And the ICC, of course, needs to give a nod for it to materialize. Basically, many things need to be in motion for this grand plan to succeed. But the relentless pursuit of emerging as a sporting giant has put Saudi Arabia at the forefront of all these discussions. It's the dream of every cricketer, the ultimate glory. Few manage to keep their date with destiny. But for many, it's been heartbreaks and a cross to bear. The Holy Grail is here in India. I'm Rupha Ramani, and Firstpost brings you the ringside view. We bring you the Cup of Dreams, Cricket World Cup coverage like never before.